Thanks for listening to the Cruise Radio Network's Cruise with Bruce show. I'm Bruce Oliver, the host of this program. Welcome to today's show. Hello, it's Tuesday, March 8th, 2011. Thanks for tuning into my program. My guest today is Mike Kijak. Today we're going to hear about Mike's background and his experience as a balloon pilot. We're also going to have him give us some tips on what to do if you want to take a balloon ride. And we're going to hear about his project for wheelchair-bound clients, the Pegasus Balloon Project. Mike and his wife, Patty, owned and operated Up and Away Ballooning in Windsor, that's Sonoma County, California, for more than 11 years. Sonoma County, a resident since 1991. He's been a certified commercial pilot for 18 years. He began his career in the op industry as a crew member and earned his BS in Recreation and Leisure Studies from Fresno State University. Up and Away Ballooning made the decision to develop the Pegasus Project in response to numerous inquiries from private individuals and travel agents with clients seeking to experience Northern California's picturesque wine country from this breathtaking vantage point. Welcome to the program, Mike.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did you take the balloon up today, or was it a bad day for it?
It was a bad day. Foggy, rain last night, some fog this morning, and windy after that. But that's what weather in Northern California in March is like. So you never know what you're going to get. Typically, March is windy or rainy. 3 weeks ago, we had 82-degree weather here in California in February, so we were flying, but back to wintertime conditions, unfortunately, for a while. So
there you
not
go.
Today.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been ballooning for a while, and you've been a pilot for 18 years, which is quite a while. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, a little bit before the ballooning thing to sort of led into the ballooning experience. I used to work for Hewlett-Packard a long time ago. They were moving the shop to Colorado, and we didn't want to move to Colorado. So my wife says, why don't you go back to school? And I was 35 at that time. I said, well, I'm too old for that. And she said, so I went back to school and went to Fresno State, and believe it or not, got my degree in Recreation and Leisure Studies, which a lot of people laugh about because they think, that's underwater basket weaving or whatever. But in reality, recreation is the largest industry in the world because everybody has to recreate in some way, shape, or form. And I concentrated on the commercial aspect of the major. And then we had my best friend lived here in Sonoma County, and I said, well, that'd be a great place to recreate. So we moved to Sonoma County in 91 and answered an ad in the newspaper in end of 92 for a guy in town who was a balloonist looking for crew. We have a crew that helps us set the balloons up, chases us around, helps us pack up. And so my mornings were free at that time, and I answered the ad. Thought that's a pretty neat thing to do, but I'm really afraid of heights. And I still am afraid of heights. So I thought, well, let's give it a try. And that was almost 18 and a half years ago now. So that's kind of the background of that. So most of us start out as a crew person and just stick with getting up at 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning and helping somebody else go flying all the time. And I was able to buy my first personal balloon in 96, a little two-person balloon. And then I thought, well, maybe I could, sell a ride or two to pay for my insurance. I was just flying for fun. And so I had a website made, and we were, way back on page 30 because I also still had a real job. And was just flying on the weekends. And then the website sort of started climbing up the rankings. And, we got higher and higher in the rankings. And people started calling, says, oh, I've got a group of 6, I got a group of 8. And I've got my little two-person balloon saying, sure, we could do that, and hang up the phone and call all my friends that have their balloons and, help. And so then I got laid off my real job, if you will, in 99, and never looked back since. And now we own 4 balloons, and we're the major player here in Sonoma County as far as balloon ride operators. So
fantastic. That's
a
fantastic.
little background stuff. Yeah.
So,
I turned a hobby into a career, and so.
Well, there's nothing better than doing something that you love, and you don't complain about the boss, or the boss.
Yeah.
Listen, anyways,
yeah.
right?
It doesn't go any higher. That's right. It doesn't go any higher than me. So if I got somebody to complain with, stuff's going back down the chain. So, but no, I love what I do, and I like to entertain. I love to fly, and to get paid to do it on top of that's a pretty sweet deal. So, it's just, I've never worked harder in my life, but that's what happens when you're a self-employed person and you start, from scratch. And, but now I've got a good crew that, we have five pilots total and a bunch of crew guys that, if
Wow.
Patty and I want to go on vacation, we can go on vacation. And I know the guys will run the operation, and, we'll come back after a week and they say, how come you didn't call? And I said, well, any problems? No. Well, that's why I didn't go. So,
Well, you're fortunate you got a group of people that you can count on and that do what they got to love what they're doing too.
They do, and we've turned a couple of the guys now. One guy's a pilot in training. One of my other guys, flies for me. He just started as a crew guy when he was 16. He's 25 now, and he's
wow.
So we hire from within, train and hire from within, just like you're supposed to do. And that's just nice to keep more people coming into the sport. It's a very small little, really small community of ballooners. There's not very many people that hot air balloon. So it's big back east, but on the west coast here, the major areas are Napa, here in Sonoma County, and a couple of operations down in Southern California, but that's about it.
Right. I know. Like I said, I've taken a balloon ride up in the Napa area, in the Sonoma area, but I also took a ride down in Temecula with California Dreamin'.
Right.
Dave Bradley down there.
Yep.
And I love ballooning. So you went from Hewlett-Packard.
Yep.
And at 35, you decided you needed to do something. I think there's a lot of people that are finding themselves in that position, isn't there?
It's true these days. You got to sort of reinvent yourself. People are losing their jobs all over the place and coming up with completely different ideas that are actually turning them into. Just read about a lady the other day got laid off and turned around, started one of those cupcake kind of sort of deals, and she's going crazy making cupcakes, and it's working out for her. So you have to do what you got to do. So that's okay.
That's right. So you moved to Sonoma. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my best friend lived here in Sonoma County, and we bought a house 4 doors down from him, and was Little Podunk. We actually live in the town of Windsor, which is next to Santa Rosa, which is about an hour north of San Francisco in the grand scheme of things, straight north. So we moved here when it was little tiny Windsor. Now it's close to 30,000 people, so it's growing pretty good. And it's a bedroom community for a lot of people go to San Francisco, so make the commute. And I had at one time, a long time ago, I had a real short part-time job working in San Francisco, and one afternoon on a Friday, it took me 4 hours to drive back home, which should have taken about an hour and 10 minutes, and that was a little. I called him on Monday and said, I'm not going to do that again, thank you. But working for a nice hockey team.
Yeah, you can only take the BART so far. That's the Bay Area Rapid Transit, for people don't know. But that goes from San Francisco. How far up does it go?
It doesn't even come over the bridge. It goes over to Oakland and then down to San Jose now, so it doesn't even come up here. So mass transit is either a bus or just a bus, period.
So it doesn't. BART does not go up to Walnut Creek or Pleasant Hill anymore?
No, it does. It goes over to Oakland, Walnut Creek, Livermore. But if you were to come straight over the Golden Gate Bridge and up 101, that's up towards us, and it doesn't come up here yet.
Oh, no.
But there is talk of revitalizing a train route from Marin up into, but they'll never do that because it's going to be pretty expensive.
Right. So in relationship to, let's say, Sacramento, how long of a drive is it to
It's about a 2-hour drive right into the middle of Sacramento from Sonoma County. And when I say Sonoma County, that's the town of Santa Rosa, but the whole area here is called Sonoma County. There's 3 big valleys here, if you will, where there's Sonoma County, Sonoma, and then Napa. And it's in rough terms, it's like a big U, where the left side of the U is Sonoma County, where we're at, and we're about the middle of the leg, if you will. The bottom of the U is the Sonoma Valley, and then the right side of the leg will be Napa. And from Napa, say downtown Napa to downtown Santa Rosa, it's about an hour drive. And we have a lot of passengers come over from Napa, so it's not that hard of a drive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, if why would somebody want to visit Sonoma other than there's vineyards, and are there any other things in Sonoma other than your balloon?
Yeah, there's lots of things to do here. And when we just had a lady just yesterday says, "Oh, we're coming out to Napa," and then when I got talking to her, she's actually staying 10 minutes away from my house. So a lot of people from back east, Napa has done such a wonderful marketing job over the years. When Robert Mondavi came in the 60s and put Napa on the map, and now Sonoma County's Tourism Bureau and all that are, realizing that they need to do the same thing. So a lot of people think, when they think, wine country, they think Napa. But we're the next valley to the west from Napa, so we're here in Sonoma County. So, and it's a very good central location as a base of operations, if you will, if you're here to vacation. The San Francisco is an hour or 45 minutes to an hour to the south. The ocean is 45-minute drive to the west. Napa is 45 minutes hour, if you do want to go to Napa, to the east. And then all the vineyards and wineries here in Sonoma County are 10 minutes down the road. There's a wonderful place up in the hills called Safari West, which is a natural or a game preserve where you can go see giraffes, antelope, all sorts of things, African-type animals, and they put you in a Jeep and you cruise around and see the animals. And you can actually stay on the property, and they have little bungalows, and you can feed the giraffes from your bungalow in the evening if you like. They stick your face right in your face. So that's an interesting thing. We meet everybody at the Sonoma County Airport. That's our meeting spot for everybody, which is on the northern end of Santa Rosa. And at the airport, there's a place called the Pacific Coast Air Museum, which is a wonderful collection of aircraft from Korean War vintage to present day. They actually just 2 months ago they took delivery of one of the F-15 Strike Eagles that were called up on 9/11 to go up and see what was going on. Yeah, it was decommissioned, and then the museum was able to get a hold of it. And there's a group of volunteer guys that come out and are putting it back together because they had to truck it out on a truck. But they're putting it back together, and one of the guys owns one of the local auto body paint shops, and he's donating the paint, and the guys are donating their time, and then it will go on display. So that was a major find for those guys to be donated to the plane. Yeah.
Right. And if you want to go north from Sonoma, and say you want to go an hour north, what's up that way?
There you'll start getting up into the redwood country. The redwoods are surrounding us right now, but north of Sonoma County is the Redwood Empire, they call it. And you can take Highway 101 straight up into Oregon, but you'll eventually get up into the redwoods, and there's some beautiful, huge stands of redwood trees to visit, drive. I think they even have one you can drive through, but just beautiful country up that way. So right up, head off into the forest all the way up to Oregon practically. And the Russian River is out 5 minutes out to the west here. You can go canoeing on the Russian River, which we have a canoe, so we go canoeing in the summertime. And of course, if you're into the vineyards, there's over 200 award-winning wineries right here in Sonoma County. And actually, there's more award-winning wines produced in Sonoma County than there is in Napa, believe it or not. And I like the Sonoma County area if you're into the wineries and whatnot, because I call it more quieter. Napa has one road that goes right down the middle of it, Highway 29, and it's kind of one winery after the other, after another. And we're in Sonoma County. There's actually 3 regions. the Russian River appellation, they call it, where we fly over, which is whites and champagne grapes that we see when we fly over every day. And then up the valley to the left, if you will, is the Dry Creek Valley, and that is Cabernets and Zinfandels and Pinots. And then Alexander Valley up and to the right is Cabernets and Merlots. So the three separate regions, you could spend several days just exploring all of it. You could probably spend 2 weeks exploring everything here. So, interesting places. Another interesting place to visit when you're talking about places to visit, and that's the geysers. And we have it's the largest geothermal electrical generating plant in the world. Where up in the hills here they have geysers capped off, and over the cap off they put turbines, and they turn the turbines and supply electricity for about 1 million people around here.
Oh, for crying out loud!
Yeah, and on a cold day the geysers are steaming, and they create their own clouds above the mountains. Pretty interesting to see that.
I guess so. So not all of them are capped then?
Not all of them are capped, either that or they just open them up to release some pressure, or I don't know what they do up there, but it's pretty interesting. It's about a 30 square mile steam field. And again, the largest in the world. I thought it was the largest in the country, but it was corrected, and it's the largest in the world. So, right in our own backyard.
Fantastic. So what's the best time of year to visit that area then?
Each season has its own uniqueness, I think. Right now it's quiet as far as, and I'll relate this to tourists, because that's what we do pretty much. Right now it's very quiet because it's still pretty chilly and damp and cold, but everything's green. The mustard flowers are starting to come out, and when we go flying with the mustard flowers out, everything's like somebody's taken a big paintbrush in the vineyards and just painted everything yellow. It's gorgeous. In about 2 or 3 months, the vineyards will start to get their leaves. The hills will start to change a little brown, probably where they get, California gold country, because it looks like it's gold. But the vineyards are in full bloom. And then my favorite time of year to fly, personally, is late September, October, November, for 2 reasons. Usually the weather turns beautiful, and second, the vineyards have changed colors. And now it's a sea of yellows and reds and maroons, and it's incredible. And if it's a late harvest, the wines are still on the vines, and you can actually smell the wine, even though that's not wine yet, but you can smell the wine while you're flying over it. And then picking starts, and now we're flying over and watching the guys race up and down the vines, picking the grapes, and we're talking to them, and good morning. They're yelling at us and everything. It's pretty cool. So each time of year has its uniqueness. And actually, we get snow on the hills. We had quite a bit of snow on the hills here, believe it or not, in Northern California this year. So it's supposed to rain again tonight, so we'll probably have some snow on the hills again.
Isn't that something? Yeah. Now, you wouldn't figure that there would be snow. How hard? What's the elevation then?
Actually, the particular mountain is about 4,400 feet, which is pretty high. But the lower mountains, the snow level came down to, believe it or not, 500 feet this year. It got cold, and it went away pretty quick. But that's pretty low for California when we're only 45 minutes away from the coast. So, and it doesn't last very long, but it's there.
Does it affect the vineyards?
No, because all the vineyards are dormant right now, so it's no problem. We do get in this. Go ahead.
No, that's right. Go.
I was going to say, in this, when the grapes are on the vines, every once in a while we will get a freeze, and they get a little bit nervous about that. Or if the rains are going to come in sooner than normal, then there's a mad panic to pick the grapes. A couple of years ago, we started getting rain in August and September, and they started picking pretty quick because the rain will potentially rot the fruit. So that was interesting to see that mad scramble to get the grapes picked before the. There's a certain kind of disease, and I can't remember. It's basically that potentially could rot the fruit. And a lot of guys did lose their vineyards. They just had to pack it in and wait again for the next year. So that was a little bit of a shock.
Okay. No kidding. So your main business is balloon.
That's all I do. That's my full-time career. Yep.
Wow. When do you get the most traffic?
We'll start flying realistically about mid-April, and that's when I say realistically, it's weather-wise. The weather will start to calm out from April, and we'll go through whenever it starts raining again. This last year it was right to the end of November. We got a couple of days in December and a couple in January and February, but traditionally about April through November. And when we're flying 7 days a week and going at it. So
No.
flying up to 24 people a day. So
No kidding.
last year
Wow.
we flew a little over 1,500 riders last year.
Wow.
But we had a lot more booked than that. It's just that the weather messed with us a bit.
Now, which vineyards that people would recognize are in the Sonoma Valley?
The biggest one, biggest player around here is Kendall Jackson. Gallo recently have started putting down some vineyards, or buying up some vineyards, I guess I should say. But the vast majority of the vineyards are privately owned, and then they'll sell their grapes to the larger growers. So as we're flying along, people will say, "Who's that vineyard?" And I go, "I don't have an idea." But it's usually just a mom and pop operation, and they sell it to the highest bidder, I suppose. So, but Kendall Jackson's the biggest one. Rodney Strong is here. Jay Winery. Geyser Peak. Like I said, there's over 200, so I could go on and on and on. Kendall Jackson's definitely the biggest one right now.
And do they all do tours, or they,
Not all of them. No. A few. Oh, Corbel Champagne Cellars. I forgot about Corbel. Everybody probably know what Corbel is. They're right here too. Not all of them do tours. Everybody does tasting, but I know Corbel does a tour, which is very nice. It's free. You can see how champagne is made. It's a little bit different than wine. And then, of course, and the gardens are beautiful. Most all the vineyards have beautiful gardens and nice tasting rooms, but only a handful of them actually, take you on a tour. And I'm sure you could set up a private tour if you wanted to. Any of them would do that, but a lot of them aren't that really big. See some tanks, and that's about it. So.
Well, they're just starting to do that in Connecticut. We've got 30 vineyards in Connecticut now, and they're starting to get into the wine business and different
I understand
challenges.
Yeah, I understand there's grapes in all 50 states, or vineyards in all 50 states now.
Yes, there are. Amazing.
Of even Hawaii.
The best time to take a balloon ride, then, because I know weather plays with you. Do you have the winds to deal with there?
Yes, we can only fly in the mornings. A lot of people think we can fly in the afternoons here, but we can't. And so it's always a morning activity, and that's true of all Northern California balloon rides. I know there's a guy in Southern California down by Del Mar that flies in the afternoon, but he's the only one that I know on the West Coast. Back east, they can fly, in the afternoons, but here it's always a morning activity. So, two reasons why: one, the winds are very steerable and calm in the mornings. All we can control is up and down in the balloon, and the wind currents travel at different directions at different altitudes, and that's how we steer the balloons around. So, and the other reason, it's cooler. So the cooler it is, the easier it is to fly the balloons. They're hot air balloons, but they don't like to be hot balloons. So you have to get the balloon about 120 degrees approximately higher, or 120 degrees warmer than outside air temperature. There we go. And to get them to lift. So those are the two reasons we fly so early in the mornings.
Right. And what's early?
It depends. Typically, you can figure a half an hour before posted sunrise. So right now we're meeting we're going to go daylight savings here next week, but we'll probably be meeting at 7:30, and then that'll bump back to 7 o'clock when we get into April. Then into May and June, that'll go to 6:30, and if it's going to be a really warm day, say in July or August, we might even be meeting at 5:30, just to beat the heat. And it's actually kind of neat to do that when it is warm, because we usually try and get off the ground before the sunrise even comes up. So, or we're taking out just as the sun's coming over the horizon, and that's a pretty unique perspective.
That really is neat, watching the sunrise. over the valleys. Very,
Yes.
very interesting.
Yeah.
So if somebody's visiting your area, I know you've got different seasons, and what should somebody be sure to pack when they're visiting the area?
People always ask me that question, and I always say in layers. It's just probably like anything, but typically it's chilly in the mornings. As soon as the sun gets up, it gets very comfortable, and in spring and summer, you'll be in a jacket and a sweater in the morning and shorts and a T-shirt in the afternoon. So a little bit of everything. As far as a balloon ride goes, definitely layers in the morning. It's chilly when we first meet, could be in the 40s, 50s, and it's actually, believe it or not, warmer at altitude than it is on the ground. So we'll take off, and not by very much. We'll get up to, say, 1,000 feet or less, and it could be 10, 20, sometimes 30 degrees warmer up there than it is on the ground. And when we fly out over the vineyards, and then what we do is we usually drop down in the vineyards and fly 2 or 3 feet above the vines. You can actually feel the temperature drop as you get lower, and then it warms up as we go higher. So cold air is heavy, so it sinks. So it's colder down, ground level, and it's like somebody turning on the air conditioning. It's a pretty strange phenomenon, but you can really feel it. It's like walking into a refrigerator and then back up, and it's warming. So a lot of people get ready to go for a flight and have jackets, gloves, and scarves, and I tell people, okay, you won't need those gloves, you won't need that scarf, get rid of the jacket, and they look at me like I'm nuts, and if they do keep it on, they get up there and everything's getting peeled off. So in December one day we took off and it was 40 degrees. When we got up to about 1,500 feet, it was 75. And then when we landed, it warmed up to about 42 degrees, and all the jackets and gloves went back on again. So it's amazing.
Yeah. What's the highest that you've flown?
On our typical flights, anywhere from 500 feet to 1,000 feet, but we get right down on the vines. We can, when the vine's in full bloom, we can reach over the side and pick a leaf off the vine, and here you go, here's a souvenir. And the highest passengers I've taken so far is about 5,000 feet, which is untypical. So typically, like I say, 500 to 1,000 feet, and with fudge room in between. And it just depends where the winds are that day. Every day is different. You come back for a ride tomorrow after you've taken one today, could be a completely different ride, completely different direction, and that's what makes this a non-boring activity, at least for me. Right? And people ask me after we're finished flying, or they ask me, do I ever get tired of doing this? And I said, no, I never get tired of this. For one, it's very relaxing, and two, it's different day by day by day.
Yes.
Flights in a week, we could go 5 different directions. So. Never. The people ask where are we going to land. Yeah, it's wonderful. People ask me where are we going to land today. I'll say on the ground, and they say, no, really, where are we going to land? I say on the ground. I'll let you know in about an hour. So, but you'd be surprised how much control we really have. We really can steer those things around. And when we get a bunch of balloons together for competitions, like the biggest one is in Albuquerque, but a lot of the states have balloon rallies and competitions, and we don't have speed races. We have accuracy races where they set targets around the valley or wherever, and you have to fly to the target. It's usually a big X on the ground, a cloth 10-foot by 10-foot X, and we all have bean bags with our racing number, and the object of the game is to throw the bean bag, closest to the center of the X wins cash and prizes. So that's it keeps us sharp, and then it's a very small community of, people ballooning, so you see your buddies once or twice a year when we go to the balloon rallies. We used to go to a lot more than we do now, but we got busy with the ride business, so we have to stay closer to home. So,
So you belong to an association?
Yes, the Balloon Federation of America is the official organization for ballooners. From training assistance to rules and regulations to all aspects. So, and then of course we're all FAA certified. We all have commercial pilot licenses. I don't have a fixed wing license, but I don't have any desire to be a fixed wing guy. But you do. So it's not just a haphazard thing. We go through training, have to have requirements, take a written test, an oral test, and then what's called a practical test when you're getting a license. It's basically like a driving test. And actually, one of my pilots, Jim, is the Western United States designated examiner. So if you want to get your pilot's license, Jim will take you for a ride and ask you a ton of questions and see if you can fly the balloon without losing control while you're still answering the questions. So, because every once in a while you get a passenger that wants to know that why is that over there and why is that going like that and how come we're doing this and where's that over there and why is the sky blue and same kind of thing.
Right.
Which is just fine.
Child.
We hear the same question. Yep. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. Which is just fine. We hear the same questions over and over, and I never get tired of answering them. So.
Well, you've got to be able to do that if you're in that business, because I'm sure people have all. Now, if you go up to, let's say, 1,500, 2,000 feet, can you possibly see San Francisco from there?
You can if it's a clear day. Right about 1,600 feet, you can see the coast or the city, because there are a couple of mountains between us and the coast. Between us and San Francisco, you can see the coast from about 1,300 feet. You can see the ocean, and then if we get up to about 2,000 or 3,000 feet, you can actually see the beach out at the ocean. The highest I've been so far, Patty, my wife, and I went up in my little two-person balloon. We got a little under 10,000 feet, and we could see the waves crashing at the beach, and easily see San Francisco. We could see the Sierras 4 hours to the east of us, and we could even see Mount Shasta way up in the Northern California. That was pretty neat. That's the highest I've ever been so far.
Wow, that must
be a little weird, but it was amazing. It was just weird because we were just in our little two-person balloon, and we definitely felt just like a little bug in the sky and just literally hanging out. But it was a wonderful ride.
Now, I'm sure people have questions about aircraft. What types of regulations are there regarding fixed-wing aircraft, jets, and things like that? Do you ever have a problem with that?
No, we do. We fly and fly around in the airspace of the Sonoma County Airport, and it's a Class D airspace. So, for comparison, San Francisco or the big New York one, that would be Class A airspace. Jetliners, all that. Class D is private planes, private jets. We do have Horizon Air that comes in here, which is a 72-passenger airplane, but which is all just fine. We're a registered aircraft just as well, so we call into the tower, we get permission to take off. If we are going to land at the airport, we talk to them, asking permission to land. The rule is a balloon has a right-of-way over all other aircraft except an aircraft in distress, but we don't fly right down the runways. We just stay out of the space as much as possible, but because we can't, I'll scooch over to the right or I'll scooch over to the left. So I can I'll go up and I'll come down, but we're not going anywhere else. So no, we don't have any problems. The airplane guys, enjoy seeing us and we enjoy seeing them. They'll actually do flybys and wiggle their wings and we all wave, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is neat. Now
we
the
had a skydiving. I'm sorry. I was going to say we had a skydiving operation here for a while. They've moved to another location now, but we had skydivers out of the airport. And one day we were flying around the airport, and all of a sudden we hear these guys talking at us, and we're looking around, and the two parachute guys circled around us, corkscrew around us on the way down. That was pretty neat. I'd like to see that again.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Now, what are the common comments that people have? I mean, some people probably anxious about going up. And really, it's like sitting in a lounge. I tell people it's like sitting in your lounge chair, and there's no sensation of movement, right?
No, there's no sensation of movement. There's no sensation of height, which is a strange comment, but you have to see it to believe it. But and when I got into this 18-some-odd years ago, and I said, well, that's pretty neat, but I'm really afraid of heights, somebody explained that when you're on a building or a bridge or some structure, when you look over the edge, you have a reference point to the ground. Your mind subconsciously follows the lines of that structure to the ground. It's like, here's the ground. We're in a balloon. There's nothing in between, so there's no sensation of height, and it's strange, but I still get on a building or bridge, or I still get the creeps, but that's just, I get up there. And then I've actually thought about carrying a little jar in the basket with a label that said, this is nothing what I expected, and charging $1 for every time I've heard that. I could probably stop ballooning and go retire in the Bahamas. I hear it every single day. Every single day.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do, because
I just talked to, literally right before I got on the phone with you, I talked to a gal who was making a reservation. Says my husband's afraid of heights. Can he just sort of come and watch? And I said, well, I'll convert him. And I said, I guarantee it, you know. And she said, oh, I don't think you will. And I said, I will. And you know, we've had numerous times when people come out with a party of, say, 6, and one person doesn't want to go because they're scared, and they'll stay, and everybody lands, and oh, you should have gone, and you know, really, how many times are you going to take a crack at this thing? And
That's right.
Taken quite a few people aside, and I'd say, I'll tell you what, here's the deal. I'll put the balloon right back on the ground if you're having a problem, and if you don't like any of the ride, I won't charge you a single penny. And I haven't landed once, and I haven't lost a penny yet, and that's probably a couple hundred times easy.
Right.
So, yeah.
You
just don't know. You don't, like you say, people don't know what to expect. They think it's going to be wiggly and jiggly and bouncy and, you know, like a carnival ride, and it's not. I tell people it's one of the most relaxing things you'll do in your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And ballooning is actually statistically. I'm sorry, Bruce.
Go.
I was just going to say,
right.
Ballooning is statistically safer than walking down the street. You know, when was the last time you heard of a balloon crash?
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah. It really is an incredible experience, and anybody that is going to Sonoma, I recommend that you talk to Mike and go on our website, cruisewithbruce.com, and I'll have the link to Mike's site, or you can go to his site. It is quite an experience, and I've given it as a birthday gift. I mean, my mom had never gone. I've been on it a couple of times, and we went to Southern California, and there, my cousin's in the Bay Area, so next time I come to California, maybe I'll come up and see you. But it really is quite an experience. How many days would you set aside to visit your region, say Sonoma, in that area?
Most people come in for 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 days seems to be the typical length of stay, and a lot of the people riders that we get are, you know, come to Sonoma County for a couple of days, then they head off to Yosemite, then they're on their way down to LA, then they're on their way down to, so it's kind of a stop on the way. So, but you could do something here every day for a couple of weeks, easy.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Now, do you need where do people fly in? Most people fly into San Francisco or Oakland, or they go to...
Exactly. San Francisco and Oakland are the two big ones. And then, like I mentioned, Horizon Air comes in here, but they're just two flights a day to L.A., one to Portland, one to Seattle, and a new one to Vegas. So they're not, you know... So San Francisco and Oakland are definitely the major in spots.
And when you get there, there's not any, are there public buses or public transportation, or do you need to rent a car?
There is a fairly good bus system here, but definitely would rent a car, because the buses are the major routes, not like if you want to go sightseeing or any of that, that's not going to really work out real well for you. So definitely rent a car.
Right. Okay. And what about
convertible
lodging?
Gosh, we have anything from mild to wild, from inexpensive motels to 5-star, you know, kaboom places to stay. So from B&Bs to just about everything. A lot of nice places out at the coast at Bodega Bay, which you probably heard of, is about a 45-minute drive from here. A lot of nice hotels right on the coast overlooking the ocean in Bodega Bay. Some places in the forest out here to the west of us is all redwood trees, like I was talking about. So from beautiful places out there, there's the Hyatts here, the Hiltons here, all the major players are here.
Directly in Sonoma, or?
Yes, they're right here in Sonoma County. Yes.
No kidding. Okay. What's the most interesting place to stay? Let's say if you wanted to go to a B&B.
There's a nice town above where I live. I live in Windsor, and the next town up is Healdsburg. There's some nice B&Bs in Healdsburg. There's the Grape Leaf Inn. There's the Chameleon Inn. Camellia Inn, sorry. There's a nice place that we send people out here called the Windrose Cottages, which is kind of a B and a B. There's definitely the bed, and then they give you food in your own room. There's 5 little cottages on the property, actually cottages. They give you breakfast things, and so you can make your own breakfast in the morning, and that's a wonderful place to stay. There's a nice hotel here called the Vintners Inn, which is a classy place, which has a wonderful restaurant attached to it called the John Ash Restaurant, which is a very nice restaurant, obviously.
So those are within a short drive of where you said you take off from the airport.
Yes.
All
the hotels are all within 15, 20 minutes at the airport. Farther out as you go farther towards the coast and things, but there's plenty of nice places to stay right in town.
Mm-hmm. So if they're going to be coming in to do a balloon ride, the chances of them getting, let's say they schedule for tomorrow, what's the chances of it being good that they'll go tomorrow?
Depends on the season, unfortunately. It's definitely weather-based business, so whatever Mother Nature's going to throw at us, it just depends on the seasons. Again, the weather sort of straightens out come April. From then on, is pretty darn predictable.
Okay.
December, January, February, March, a bit flaky, but that's just because it's winter weather.
Right.
So I'll say 50-50.
Right. So if you're bound and determined you want to make sure you take a balloon ride, you should go between April or May and October.
Spring into fall, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Winter,
so
very
that's
catch as catch can.
Right. So people, we've already talked about people nervous taking their first ride, and there really is nothing to it.
No.
What's a typical day for somebody taking a ride?
Let's say we're in springtime, so we're meeting at, let's say, 6:30 in the morning at the airport. We meet at the airport. We more than likely take off from the airport. We do have launch spots all around the valley, just depending which way the winds are coming from and going to. So we go to the launch spot. We set the balloons up. We go flying. Again, we have a chase crew that chases us around while we fly. The flight's about an hour, if not more. We've flown for up to 2 hours, but we're always shooting for at least an hour, if not more. And then we land, pack up, come back to the airport, and then we get everybody's cars, and we all caravan over to Kendall Jackson Winery, which we mentioned, and we do a full tilt breakfast served in the gardens at the back of the winery. And every morning, either myself or my wife gets up real early and starts cooking, and we make quiches every morning by hand. We chocolate dip strawberries by hand, local cheeses, fruits, coffee cakes, champagne, juice, a bunch of other things, all served on hand-painted plates, fancy glasses and silverware, and served in the gardens at the back of Kendall Jackson Winery. And I also give each rider a nice personalized flight certificate with their name on it and a cloisonne pin. It's kind of a balloon tradition sort of thing to each rider. So then hello to goodbye time with us is about 4.5 hours. And it just depends how long we fly and how much time we sit around chatting at the brunch after the flight. So most people, we figure you finished about 10:30, 11-ish, 11:30-ish. And then most of the wineries are opening about 10, 10:30. So a lot of people head out and go wine tasting. Or they go home and take a nap like I do. So.
Well, you got a little more strenuous of a job. They're just standing there watching.
Yeah. Yeah. Ballooning with us is... ballooning with us it's very hands-on. I mean, unlike any other kind of aviation where don't step beyond this line and don't touch this and don't touch that, and we have people help us every morning setting the balloons up and packing away and squishing the fabric back in the bags and things like that, and they love it. And it's all hands-on. And the youngest we've taken is 6, and the oldest we've taken so far is 96. So, and people from all over the world.
Wow. Now, if somebody wanted to start flying balloons, what advice would you have for them?
We got to be ready to get up early in the morning and work for nothing basically, and so it's definitely a labor of love to start with. But the best way to do it is, if you're really interested into it, find a local balloonist and say, "Do you need some help with crewing?" And most everybody, well, they should, would say, "Sure, come on," and that's how 99% of us started. We just started as a crew person and just stuck with it. And You can buy used balloons that are out there for fairly inexpensive. I got my first rig, my balloon trailer and my radios for about $10,000. And the last balloon we bought was a little under $70,000, so it tells you for the jump I went from. But and then you just work on it, and you hope to get you start with another guy with his balloon. He starts training you, and then hop into his balloon whenever you can, and then hopefully you can buy your own, and then you can really start working on building your hours. So,
so it's similar to taking a.
I'm sorry, taking a.
I said it's similar to taking a pilot's license.
It's not as strenuous as a fixed wing. You know, the biggest chapter in the instruction not instruction manual, but in the training manual is the weather, because that's your biggest thing. So, it's definitely not as strenuous as stringent as airplanes, because you're not dealing with a lot of airports and a little bit, but nothing like an airplane guy.
Now, do you use a GPS?
It's a sort of a funny question. Jim, who's the examiner, he also flies for United, so he's all instruments, and but it's still ballooning, and we'll be flying along, and I would call over to Jim, hey, which way are you heading? Towards the trees over there or towards the pond? And Jim would say, well, I'm on a heading of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I said, Jim, just tell me if you're going towards the trees or if you're going towards the pond. And he goes, oh, that's right, you're in the dark ages. And I fly by looking out the window. It's,
That's true. And there's a lot of window there.
Yeah, pretty much. We look at before we meet the riders, we look at the weather quite a bit, and then when we get out to the launch field, we'll fill up some little black helium balloons, like party balloons, and throw them up and watch where they go and where the winds are going, and that'll help us determine where to take off based on where we think we're going to wind up. So it's not very scientific, but it works. And hot air rises, and we catch it in a big bag, and the winds travel at different directions at different altitudes, and we steer them around. And and balloons are the oldest form of aviation. The first balloon flight was in 1783 in France. There were two brothers by the name of Joseph and Etienne Montgolfier, and actually in Europe they still call hot air balloons Montgolfiers. But they were the first to fly a hot air balloon, and it was actually, in those days they thought it was the smoke that made the balloon rise, not the heat. They didn't realize it was the heat. So they would make the smokiest kind of fire they could, and that's kind of how it all started. The modern hot air balloon, as we know it, started as a experiment by the Navy in the 60s. And they couldn't, well, that's nice, but what are we going to do with this? And their test pilot was a guy by the name of Ed Yost, and he saw the potential and created the very first balloon manufacturer in South Dakota. That's where it all started.
No. Wow.
Now it's worldwide.
Now, you've got of course you've got heat, and you got the canopy or the balloon, and you go up and down by opening a hole, right?
You can, but normally we add heat to go up, and we just let the balloon cool off to come down, and it's just a balancing act of adding and subtracting. We do have a vent at the top where if you want to cheat a little bit, you open it for just a second or two, just to, if you want to drop a little bit quicker. But most of the flight is just adding and cooling, and then you open the vent at the very end to when you're just getting ready to touch down. You open that vent to let a lot of heat out to come to a stop. So, yeah, it's just a ballet in the sky, if you will.
Now, talk a little bit about the Pegasus balloon project.
What made you decide to
surface?
Over the years, we've had people call asking if they could go for a balloon ride. I'm in a wheelchair. Can we go for a balloon ride? And we're like, well, we can try. We try and get the chair, and then we try and get the person in, and it's just a real wrestling match. And been kind of playing with the idea for about 3 or 4 years, and I decided this year to purchase a wheelchair accessible basket, and it's being made for us right now in England. Actually, it's got a picture today. It's almost finished. But the nice thing about this particular basket, if you're thinking about it, if you're sitting in a chair in a basket, you can't see over the edge very well. Well, this
Right.
particular manufacturer has put a ramp on the side of the basket, so the person will be able to wheel right into the basket, and then where half of the side of the basket is, they basically put in a window. It's a heavy-duty plastic, the same stuff they put in race car windshields, and the person will be able to look right out the window. So it's going to be pretty cool. There's nobody in the United States that has anything like this. We'll be the first ones with a basket that's like this. There's a couple of balloons out there with doors in them, but it's a door. It's not a ramp. You still got to try and wrestle the person into, over the threshold of the door, if you will. Where this is a ramp, and you'll roll right in. And so, yeah, it's coming. It'll be here in April, apparently. And so we're pretty excited. Everybody we've talked to a lot of people in wheelchairs, and everybody's just incredibly excited about, oh my gosh, somebody's finally doing something for us, and it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. Now, I've got pictures on the video that I've got, plus on the web page that I have for you, I've got pictures that you sent over with pictures of somebody going up the ramp, somebody sitting there, and then up in the air. So anybody that wants to see that particular picture of the basket, what it might look like, see it there. So what organization do you work with to provide this service? I know that you donate and you work with an organization. I want you to talk a little bit about them now.
We're going to, we're going to donate 10% of the proceeds to the International Wheelchair Foundation, which is over here in Vacaville, which is about an hour or so drive away here. But we just thought it would be a nice thing to do. So, yeah, so that's pretty much what we're just pretty much working on our own, doing the marketing, and have a friend helping us with marketing, get the word out, and everybody I see in a wheelchair, here's my card, and here's what we're going to be providing from here on out. And wow, yeah, I'll definitely be giving you guys a call. So just getting the word out.
That's right. That's right. And when's your first flight?
The target to have the basket here by the first week in April. So whenever the weather's nice, I have a local guy that I've been talking to who's in a wheelchair, and he's going to be my test pilot, so to speak, and his name is Vaughn, and I'm going to take Vaughn for a ride, and he'll be my guinea pig, and we'll get the bugs worked out with Vaughn, and he's excited about it, and away we go.
Excellent. What you ought to do is take a video of it and put it up on YouTube.
Oh, we'll definitely be taking lots of pictures, video, you bet. Once we get, there'll be a whole page, on our website dedicated just to this thing. Again, it'll be the only ride operator in the United States offering something like this. So,
excellent. So, what is the approximate price for somebody to take a ride?
Our fares, we got 3 fares, and then based on age. So 6 to 12 is $195. 12 to 18 or 60 and over is $220 per person, and then 18 to 60 is $235 per person, and that's it. There are no other fees or taxes or anything with our operation. That's what you see is what you pay. So, and again, for the ride of an hour, if not more, and then a nice big brunch at Kendall after the flight.
Yeah, and that's pretty reasonable, actually.
That's
excellent.
Everybody's right in the ballpark in the business, and so. But we offer a very personalized kind of a thing. Some of the ride operators in Napa are running pretty big baskets, 16, 18 passenger baskets. Our biggest one can carry 8 or 9. So we keep our groups very small and personalized, and that's how we can really lay on the first-class service. And that's not a fancy slogan, but the way I run the business.
Do you have a blog, or you got anything else that you're going to be doing in the future?
To tell you the truth, I haven't stepped into the modern age. So I'm a pretty simple kind of guy, so it's the website, and that's about it, but you never know.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, if anybody wants more information about Mike, I'm going to stay in touch with him, because obviously I'm a somewhat of an enthusiast, balloon enthusiast, taking rides anyways, and if you're interested. Yeah, I hear you. Well, if anybody wants more information about Mike, I'm going to stay in touch with him, because obviously I'm a somewhat of an enthusiast, balloon enthusiast, taking rides anyways, And if you're interested in finding out more over time, you can either go to my website, cruisewithbruce.com, or visit him at up-away.com, or do a Google search Up and Away Ballooning, and you should be able to get to his site. I appreciate you being on, Mike. I wish you luck with your project, and we will talk again. I'm interested in staying in touch with you, and the page that I've got for you, as well as all my guests, are permanent on my website. I thank everybody for listening to my program. I hope this was worthwhile and interesting to you today. This program and all other programs are archived. People can follow or subscribe to my program by going to an iTunes channel, and all of my broadcasts with Cruise with Bruce are archived. So thanks, Mike. It was great talking to you, and like I said, we can always fill in, and we've got plenty to talk about. It's been an interesting hour talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me, Bruce. I really appreciate that.
No problem. And like I said, stay in touch, and we'll talk to you again.
Thanks. Happy sailing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Permission to use the music featured on the program has been granted by the musician and/or composer. Permission for rebroadcast of this and other programs are made by a case-by-case basis. All programs are